Welcome to another edition of Pittsburgh Sports Line live in the BPTV studios. We've got Devin Shea on camera, Chris Satter in the control room, so we're in good hands. Smoking Jim will not be on the show tonight. He told me yesterday he wasn't going to be here, and I asked why. I got no answers, Chip. So
the man of mystery. And he will remain so.
It's me and you tonight. We'll do our best. We've done it a few times before, and I know we can handle it. I'm Al Levine, the talking machine. I got Chip Hayner with me, and we're going to start our show. We just finished some Olive Oil's Pizzeria pizza and some steak hoagie, which was great. Call them up, 412-831-1900. They're our sponsor of our show tonight, so thanks again, Olive Oil's Pizzeria. I always end the show with Stay Joey Strong. Here's a little brochure about Joey Fabus. Picture before and then after he had DIPG, the brain cancer that took his life before his 9th birthday. So at the end of the show, Stay Joey Strong. Donate some money to the Joey Fabus Childhood Cancer Foundation, little as $1, or help out with their events coming up. On the 18th, they're doing a 5K DIPG run, so we'll check that out. We'll have that, do some filming of that. Here's the $5 million Meadows Challenge for golf. Check it out. You can go online and check out meadowsgolfchallenge.com. And they'll be doing that September 17th through the 19th. Check them out. All right, I know Chip and Smoking Jim are working on getting an organization or group here. If you have a group that's going to do something in Bethel Park for the kids, there's money there. $100 to $5,000 is available. Go to bpcf.org. Check it out. Get an application. Apply for those funds for your group and the good things you're going to do in our Bethel Park community. Again, that's the Bethel Park Community Foundation, BPCF. Check it out. All right, we normally start our show with What's on Your Mind. We're still going to do that. And since it's just Chip and I, Chip, we'll start right now. What's on your mind?
What's on my mind, yeah. Well, interesting sports weekend in Pittsburgh this past weekend. The Pirates seem to be falling off the face of the map. They're going through a 7-game losing streak right now. Couldn't have picked a worse time to run through a 7-game losing streak. Is it the end of the world? No. Does this completely eliminate them from the playoffs? Again, the answer is no. Have some faith in the players. Have some faith in the managers. Have some faith in Ray Searage. And, hopefully everybody can stay healthy enough for us to give it a run. The next 3 weeks will be telling. The college football season started off on a great note this weekend for all of our local teams. WVU beat a team that they were an underdog to. Penn State won, and the Pitt Panthers won, setting up the big Pitt-Penn State game. And, one of the things that I've thought about for quite some time is that, there was a time when I remember when I was a teenager in the 70s and, even into the early 80s where the Pitt-Penn State game was as big of a game nationally as Michigan, Ohio State, Auburn, Alabama, Florida State. It's just, so Pitt's playing Penn State this week, and it's kind of like a ho-hum. These are two proud football organizations that really don't seem to be going anywhere in a real quick hurry right now. Right. James Franklin, you got to give him a couple of more years to see what he can do. The one thing about a college football head coaching position, you can't be one and done with them. They've got to get a chance to recruit some of their own players in. So, the big thing about the Pitt game this week, James Conner's back. Guy beat cancer and came back. What a great story that is. What a great person to look towards as a role model.
Sure.
For any athletes. But we've got a big game this week. Big for us, Maybe not so much the rest of the country, but I think Heinz Field will be filled for a change. And I've said this once, and I will say it again, and I will pass the baton over to Alan. I believe very strongly that West Virginia, Penn State, and Pitt should be forced to play one another in their non-conference games every season. And if they did, there would be 2 sellouts every year. You know, you alternate where the games are played, and I'm telling you, it would do so much for the local football scene. And then now you got kids being recruited to go to West Virginia or Penn State or Pitt that played against each other in high school, now have a chance to play with each other in college. Yeah. And, you know, they're still sending quite a lot of athletes to the pros. So, you know, I mean, what more could you want? But I think Pitt, Penn State, and West Virginia all should have to play one another every year.
We can train.
It's a win-win situation. Nobody loses there. So that's my humble opinion.
Thanks, Chip. I appreciate it. A little trivia note. The last time they played, Pitt won in 2000, 21-0. So this is the startup of that again, and let's see what happens. What's on my mind is the Buccos. I was so happy after their sweep of the Brewers, and I had high expectations for them. They got squashed. And it's just sad to keep seeing this 7 in a row losses. You know, they're playing their way out of playoffs, and it's due to numerous circumstances, like we've said, from injuries to lack of timely hitting to getting thrown out on the base paths. You name it. There's a plethora of reasons on why it's happening. I'm not giving up yet.
No.
Because they do play, they got a nice schedule at the end, a lot of weak teams, and hopefully we can come through and beat the weak teams. That's what the goal is.
And, you know, to speak to the Pirate situation, you know, I feel that they have no choice at this point. Tomorrow night against the Cardinals, absolute must-win games. We cannot afford to go. We're 5.5 behind them now. Yeah. We can't afford to finish this series and be 7.5 games behind them. So
that's my thoughts too. I'm with you on it. I got to see it. Although tonight I'll be going after the show. I'll check out to see what they're doing tonight. So
I certainly will.
I can't wait.
My radio's already tuned into where the game will
Whoa, be. Nice. We'll be listening. Well, we got your segments coming up right now. Since there's no Smoking Jim, we got nothing there. And Ernie Kushner, he'll be back next week, he said. He sent me a text that he can't make it tonight, but he'll be back next week. So we'll look forward to some Kush time next week. It was a great show last week with Ernie, and he does have some great things that he's done with Converse. So, all right, let's go to Chip's Trivia Time right now.
All right, we're going to go through it a little bit of an extended trivia time because we've got time to fill.
Yeah.
So I'm going to add, you know, there's certain things that I highlight. Not all of them get used. Tonight they might. Okay. So
we'll just keep going and we'll go to another segment.
Yeah. So we've got a lot of different things going on in baseball, but with some of the things that I always like to bring to light in this age of specialization, it has now become almost a trend in baseball that if you get 5 innings out of your starting pitcher, that's somehow considered to be a quality start. It used to be 6. Before that, it was 7. And what's it going to be next year? So that being said, on September 3rd, 1917, Philadelphia's Grover Cleveland Alexander, who's in the Hall of Fame, a name that any baseball historian knows, went the distance in both games of the Phillies' 5-0 and 9-3 sweep of the Brooklyn Dodgers.
Wow.
So he pitched back-to-back complete games in the same day. Now, there are pitchers in the major leagues that will finish the season without a single complete game.
Yeah.
And I believe the Pirates pitchers have 2 complete games this year. One was pitched by Ivan Nova. The other one was pitched by Jeff Locke. So, you know, you think about that. That was a good afternoon for Grover Cleveland Alexander. But that's pretty good for a pitching staff for a year now. It shows you how things have changed. Also, going back into the early 1900s, longtime pitching rivals Christy Mathewson and Mordecai Brown closed out their careers by special arrangement in the same game. Mathewson won the game 10-8. They both pitched the whole game. Now, Mordecai Brown's nickname was Old Three Fingers.
Yeah.
Okay, he was missing a finger on his hand. Still became an effective pitcher in Major League Baseball.
Yeah, the right fingers to throw the ball.
Okay.
What do you got?
What do I got? And one of our favorite pitchers, and when I say our, Alan and I both agree that this guy could have arguably been one of the greatest left-handers of all time. Unfortunately, his career was cut short. 1959, August 31st, Sandy Koufax of the Dodgers struck out 18 Giants for a National League record as the Dodgers beat the San Francisco. 18 Ks out of 27 outs. Doesn't happen very often. And speaking of strikeouts, somebody who's just recently enshrined in the Hall of Fame, Pedro Martinez became the 15th pitcher to strike out 3,000 batters in his career. So, 15 players have struck out 3,000 in the 150 some odd years that Major League Baseball's been around. Pretty amazing statistics. We've always we've talked about the Lou Gehrig's Ironman streak broken by Cal Ripken, and I did mention that the National League record was set by Steve Garvey back in 1973, I believe. Let me confirm that. No, by 1983, but. The keeper of the record prior to Steve Garvey, it was set on September the 3rd, 1970. Billy Williams of the Chicago Cubs asked to be kept out of the lineup, ending his National League record of 1,117 consecutive games played. His record was broken by Garvey in 1983. Yeah. Now, you think about that. That's close to 10 years of playing without missing a game. And, nowadays, guys get days off after they played 3 games because we don't want to burn them out. So
they need a rest.
Now, getting to sticking with the pitchers. I think I'm going to stick with the pitchers.
All right.
Tom Seaver, on September the 1st, 1975, struck out Manny Sanguin in the 7th inning to become the first pitcher to strike out at least 200 batters in 8 consecutive seasons. Seaver recorded 10 strikeouts in the Mets' 3-0 triumph over the Pirates. Fairly interesting statistic. And as a matter of fact, speaking of Manny Sanguin, at the Pirate game on Saturday night, they brought in the remaining members of the 1971 World Championship team, which as a 11-year-old boy, I was all about the Pittsburgh Pirates and Clemente and all that. And something that I wasn't aware of was that, Manny Sanguin played on both teams. He played on the 71 World Series team and he played on the 79 World Series team, which I knew that he was a role player, but he hit in the winning run.
I didn't remember
the series winning run for the Pirates. Willie Stargell's heroics won the day with his home runs, but Manny Sanguin had a pinch hit RBI to win that. But I want to tell you something. And sitting there and watching the players of my youth now as senior citizens coming onto the field, it really was kind of a moving evening.
Sure.
The 71 World Championship team.
45 years ago.
45 years ago, so
that's amazing.
I didn't realize that they were bringing in the whole team, but it was ironic. I was sitting up in our seats, and my wife was talking to some of her friends, and I started naming people because I was looking at their jerseys, and they're looking at me like I'm crazy. I'm like, that's the '71 World Series team.
Yeah,
they had Roberto's wife and 2 sons, Roberto Jr. Yeah. They had Willie Stargell's wife come on and represent nice. Willie, and it was really I found it moving myself. But moving on, 1993, September the 4th, Jim Abbott threw the New York Yankees' first no-hitter in 10 years. Okay, so the Yankees won 4-0. What's the big deal about that? Jim Abbott had one hand. Okay, so here's a guy that did not let his disability stop him from becoming a professional athlete and performing at the highest level, because a no-hitter is about as good as it gets for a pitcher. So 1993, I remember that. I brought up another one here from 1995. Robin Ventura became the 8th player in Major League history and the first in 25 years to hit 2 grand slams in one game as the White Sox beat Texas. But the thing that I think most people would recognize Robin Ventura for is being a punching bag to Nolan Ryan, who beat the living snot out of him as he rushed the mound because Ryan threw an inside pitch or he hit him. Yeah. Nolan Ryan, like I said, he beat the living snot out of him.
He was tough.
Yeah, he didn't play games, did he? I don't think that he's somebody still at whatever age he is now in his 60s. I still wouldn't give him any love.
He looks in pretty good shape.
Speaking of, when baseball teams move, they usually move for a reason. And what happened when the Dodgers and the Giants left New York was attendance had gone down. They wouldn't build them a new stadium, et cetera, et cetera. So in 1966, on September the 4th, the Los Angeles Dodgers became the first team in Major League history to draw more than 2 million fans at home and on the road, as the Dodgers beat the Reds in front of 18,000 fans in Cincinnati. Wow. Think about that. That is a fairly incredible feat to have accomplished. I've got one that's even more amazing in a few minutes. No, they certainly are. Gary Carter, in September 4th, 1985. May he rest in peace. All-star Hall of Fame catcher, played for the Astros, played for the Mets, won a World Series in New York 1986. He hit a pair of solo home runs to tie a Major League record and singled in another run to lead the Mets to a 9-2 victory over San Diego. Carter's feat followed a 3-home run performance the night before, as he became the 11th player in Major League history to hit 5 home runs in 2 games.
Wow. That's some hitting.
Yes, it is. It certainly is, and it's worth making note of. Coming down to the end, let's see here. Milt Pappas, I believe this was September 6, 1972, of the Chicago Cubs, retired 26 consecutive Padres before walking pinch hitter Larry Stahl on a 3-2 pitch. Pappas then retired Gary Jestad to finish his 8-0 no-hitter. He missed out on throwing a perfect game.
Wow.
But, the next best thing to being there. Dave Steben on September 6th.
Let me interrupt you. Devin Shea, St. Louis, just hit a grand slam in the first inning.
Oh, boy.
Do your trivia.
It's going to be a long game. Okay, thanks, Devin.
Appreciate that, shocker.
And September 6, 1990, Dave Stieb, who was a pitcher for the Toronto Blue Jays in the early 90s, who had lost 3 no-hit bids with 1 out to go in the previous 2 seasons, finally sealed the deal and beat Cleveland 3-0. It was a record 9th no-hitter of that season. And then finally, on September 6, 1993, the expansion Colorado Rockies drew 47,699 fans for their 6-1 loss to Montreal to set a single-season National League attendance record with a 62-game total of 3,617,863. Los Angeles had set the previous record in 1982. Toronto set the Major League record of 4,028,318 fans in 1992.
Wow.
That was paid attendance. Now, last year, the Pirates, got over 2 million and set a record for our franchise. And, just think about doubling that number in the course of the season. That means that there was no empty seats all year.
Nah.
So the ticket scalpers must have done well.
Everybody did well.
But that's what my trivia is all about this week.
Thanks for the extra additional trivia. Covered some good stuff there. I appreciate it. On location report, due to Labor Day, we weren't anywhere. Next Monday, we'll be at Atria's PNC Park. So stay tuned when we're out in the city and about. We'll be at Atria's PNC Park on the 12th, 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock with guests and doing our show. So check us out there. And we'll just move on through the sports world. We covered Pirates. I don't know.
Well, we haven't really got into the Pirates because there were some moves made today. And one of the young kids that they brought up, his last name was Marte. And, of course, that name rings because everybody, knows about Starling Marte. And I believe he's no relation to Starling, but he's been DFA'd after a couple of very bad experiences this weekend as a relief pitcher. So the Pirates are
making
shipping
moves.
Guys out. They're bringing guys in. And, this year, we gave the Pirates the benefit of the doubt because they made the playoffs the last 3 years in a row. And we've seen what Ray Searage can do with journeyman pitchers.
Yeah, reclaiming them, basically.
And going into the season, they had a plan that, it had the potential to work. Unfortunately, it didn't. And the Pirates were man enough to admit that
Didn't work out.
it didn't work out, and they blew it up. And they shipped off some people, and they brought up the young guys who everybody had been clamoring for. And the young guys are doing well, but not. None of them are Superman. None of them are Cy Young.
Right.
And what really everybody was anticipating was these guys to come up and go 7 or 8-0, and have.
And we were looking for starting pitching lasting a little longer, 6-7 innings.
Yeah.
Holding them down, holding the fort.
So I think one of the things that I think that the Pirates did do over the winter, and one of the areas where they were deficient in was their bench strength. And now if you look at their lineup, their top 8 positions, and when I talk about the top 8 positions, I mean excluding the pitcher, 1 through 8, I like the Pirates lineup, and I like the reserves that we have. Pirates made a real smart move, signing Dave Freese to a 2-year contract extension. The way he has played this year has been far above expectations. He had a bad year last year. Matt Joyce arose from the dead.
He may be comeback player of the year.
Maybe comeback. Sean Rodriguez, everybody said, why did you re-sign him? And now we can see why. He has
power.
He's got power, but he's a demon defensively. He can play any of the positions in the field. Shortstop, third base, second base, right field, left field. The only thing
he makes some outstanding plays while he's doing it, which is even more impressive. Not only is he adequate in the field, but he exceeds that in numerous cases.
So next year we're going to have a bunch of young guys, and we're going to have tape to see. I do believe that what the Pirates are going to need to do this off season is they're going to have to go fishing for some starting pitching. I think, to be honest with you, with the way he's performing and because of what happened with Jay Happ last year and the way he has performed this year, I think signing Ivan Nova might be well within the Pirates' reach. I mean, this is somebody that you're not going to have to pay $15 million to pitch for you. Get him for 2 years. I mean, how could that hurt? I think locking up pitchers long term is proving to be something that's not the greatest thing. The reason why people say, the Pirates should have re-signed Happ. Well, I was listening to the former GM of the Seattle Mariners, who's now does Pirates pregame show, and they said, Jay Happ, at no point ever in his career up till this year had he ever had any more than a good half a season. He would either be good at the beginning part of the season and bad in the second half, bad in the first half, better in the second half, which is the way it was last year. And signing him up long term just, didn't really make a lot of sense. Nobody knew that he was going to pitch the way he's pitched this year. Good for him that he has. And he's helped Toronto, but hindsight, let's remember, it's 2020. But I think we're going to need to go after some starting pitching. I think, some of the young guys that we have, I don't know if all of them are going to pan out.
They've suffered some injuries too. These
well,
guys
and
coming up,
I think,
some are up here a little too soon, as we've talked about.
Glasnow,
they're not seasoned enough. They need a little more seasoning.
Brault was up here a little too soon. I think he's going to be fine. I like the way Cool was pitching.
Yeah.
And yesterday he just did not seem. It seemed like the last place in the world he wanted to be was on that pitching mound.
Yeah.
You know, and these are young guys may have been a little bit intimidated by the St. Louis Cardinals, and the St. Louis Cardinals are a machine.
Yeah.
I mean, year after year, they're contenders. You know,
They bring people up.
but they've
They
got
just
the
fill in
financial
spot.
backing to do it. They've got a multi-billion-dollar local television contract, which they
Right.
don't have to split with anybody. Same as the Cubs.
Exactly.
You know, and we're never going to get that kind of a television contract. So, you know,
And speaking of the Cubs, are having a heck of a year.
they're
Yeah.
and that just is going to Mike watching them
Lot
fall
of-
flat on their face in the playoffs even more.
It
sweet.
could happen, like you say, but they're the best in baseball right now.
Yeah, they are. They there's no question
proved
about
it.
it. But you know, the season isn't over yet. So
I know.
you know,
I wanted to bring up a point when Neil Walker, they were saying about signing him long term, and he had a bad back and other things. He has surgery, you know, on his bad back. So there's some of the naysayers about why trade him. Why
and, you know,
keep him?
Well, why
you know?
keep him? And the Pirates had offered him somewhere between $27 and $30 million for a 3-year extension at one point, and he flat out refused them.
Right.
So, you know, when you say that the Pirates should have signed him, the Pirates tried to. And then the Pirates are a little skeptical because, you know, they saw him every day. They saw what kind of effects that his back had on him, and his back has been bothering him for a while. He said he's been playing. He got to the point where he was losing feeling in his feet. Okay, so now his season's done for the Mets. The Mets are in a playoff chase without a starting second baseman with 23 home runs. Was it?
He was having a nice year.
He was getting set to get a big check written for him, but you know the fact that he's going to be 31 years old and back surgery. You know,
There's a question mark.
there's the big payday that Neil was looking to get. I don't think it's going to be there for him, but somebody's going to pay him. I mean, you know, somebody will sign him. You know, I wish him nothing but speedy recovery. I'm sorry that he left the Pirates, but it was a smart baseball move to do that. Now, getting Jonathan Neese for him didn't turn out to be such a bright baseball move, but you know, like I say, again,
Hey, they admitted as much. Yeah.
hindsight's 2020, and I think I think the bigger part of that problem wasn't the Pirates or the way they positioned their players. It was Jonathan Neese. You know, he wasn't buying into the system,
right.
and he was going to do things his own way, and subsequently, he played his way right out of the city.
Yeah, it happened real simple.
Yeah,
He didn't produce.
Yeah, he wanted to go, and we didn't want him to stay. So you know, goodbye.
Mutual agreement.
And I believe he went on the disabled list as well.
I didn't see that.
I believe he did. So, you know, there's positive and negatives, and you know, everybody wants to run around and point the finger of blame at somebody and say, you know, it's his fault. You should fire Hurdle. You should fire. You know what? He's getting fired. Everybody did a great job, and they do great at their jobs. You know what? This is the way baseball is. Some years you've got the magic. Some years maybe not so much. And you know,
And even look at it, they're one game under 500, right?
right.
So I mean, they're still not that far off.
No,
I know we're down 4-0. Don't change that dial. Stay right here.
But you know, here's what the thing is: if we could just, as easily as we fell into a 7-game losing streak, we could fall into a 6 or 7 game winning streak. You know, all the pieces are still there.
They get a lot of people on base. You got to cash in on that, which they don't do a lot of that.
Yes,
they leave a lot on the base paths.
But you know what, though? And I mean, we see that because we see the Pirates play 162 times. And if you just pay attention around Major League Baseball, there's nothing that's going on with the Pirates. It doesn't happen to every other team. The only problem is you're not seeing the other team 162 times.
Right.
We're not listening to Yankees games on the radio. We're not reading about them every day in the paper after every game. But, you know, with the Pirates, we're sitting
It's
there.
our hometown team,
it's our
right?
hometown team. We then subsequently the problems with our team are magnified like nobody else has them. But it's just a game
It's
of baseball.
normal.
It's just a game of baseball.
That's why it's 162 games, as we know. We're going to play them, and hopefully they can come back. They're the comeback kids, like I've been talking about. They come back after each game, so we'll see if they can.
You know, one of the things that I've always said about the 162 game season, One thing a 162 game season will do is it will expose your flaws before the season is over. If you have them, they will be exposed. And the same
You see
thing
them in the first month.
and I say that with the Chicago Cubs in mind, because you know what, they can be beat. They went through a bad stretch. Jake Arrieta has actually, the last 2 times the Pirates played Arrieta, they scored a bunch of runs off of him.
Scored 6 runs on him in each game.
And still ended up on the short end of the stick. But
And that stuff happens.
yeah, it's the game of baseball,
We both love it. We're big fans.
I understand the game, because I'm the son of a baseball coach. You're the son of a basketball coach,
Yeah.
I mean, there's
ups and downs to every season.
Yeah, there is.
There's streaks. We're looking for the winning streak.
I love listening to the people on the radio talk shows and on social media who seem to think that they know, a little bit more than the people that get paid big money to do it. And I find it laughable because most of them probably couldn't manage to find their way out of a bathtub.
Well, what would they really do with what you have here?
Yeah.
That's the question.
Of course. You
can point out the faults and who didn't do this or who did that, but you'd have to live through it. And these guys are coaches. The players are playing.
Well, and here's the thing. This is something that my dad used to tell me all the time. He goes, you know what? He goes, I don't want to talk to somebody that can point out what's wrong. He goes, I want to talk to somebody that can give me a solution to the problem. Okay? So, if you waste your time, airing out your lungs, pointing out the flaws in everything, you can find a flaw in everything. But, okay.
Sure.
How do you solve the problem? That's that. You give me. I'll talk to you about that if you
Sure, and
at
just
any time.
as an example with McCutchen, all great ball players have bad years.
There isn't a single player in the Hall of Fame that didn't.
They all do.
That didn't.
It's part of the game, and when you try to point out that something's wrong with them or whatever, it just might be that year where. When you're on fire, you hit balls, they fall down, and they get in the gaps.
Yeah.
This year, you hit them right at people.
Yeah,
I saw games where he had 3 straight at-bats, knocked the cover off of the ball right at guys.
Well, this was somebody that played in the early 1900s, a guy named Wee Willie Keeler.
Yeah.
And they asked him what his...
it's a simple thing.
Yeah, it's a simple thing. Hit them where they ain't. They asked him what his key was to being such a successful hitter. Wow, okay, I didn't know it was that simple.
Yeah. How do you do that?
Yeah, well,
that's the question.
Yeah, right. And that's why since 1941 nobody's batted 400.
Yeah.
And that just goes on and on.
Well, like I always say, in baseball, you're a superstar and you fail 7 out of 10 times.
Yes,
7
exactly.
times you're failing, which is amazing.
And that makes you richer than you could ever imagine.
Oh, you never have to worry.
So, there's some things to talk about with the Pirates, but I'm not into this big bashing thing, And you know what? We don't need to blow things up and start from scratch again, because that's only going to lead to another 20 years of futility. You know what? You learn your lessons from this year. You evaluate.
And they have good players, like you said.
Decisions you made that were right this year, decisions that you were made that were wrong. And you really, everyone wants to point the finger at the general manager, at the manager, and they, of course, for some ridiculous reason, which I can't figure out, they want to blame Bob Nutting for it. Okay? Well, if that's what you want to do, the guy has absolutely nothing to do with the day-to-day operations of the teams. He hires good people to run the team, and he stays out of it, which I admire out of an owner.
Yeah.
But,
that's what you want to see. Really.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm happy to see him out of it. I hope that he would spend more money, but he's a businessman, and you don't really need to. Like we've seen, and I'm just saying that out loud, that you think there's more money out there that you could spend, but what do you get? You don't know what they're going to do.
You don't spend money for the sake of spending money, and spending money is not the solution to the problem.
You can't buy your way out of this.
No, You know, because anybody that tells me that spending money is the solution to the problem, I want you to come to me with an exact dollar figure that you can show me that if the Pirates spend this exact dollar amount, we're guaranteeing a World Series championship. And
Well, like you said,
that just isn't going to happen.
like you said, who are you going to get? What players are you paying to get this, and how are you getting them from certain teams?
You know,
You're not going to get them.
More of the problems this year aren't a result of Clint Hurdle or Neil Huntington. They're a result of players not performing to the level that they have performed
Sure.
to in the past. See, we know what Andrew McCutchen can do. Okay, now this year, Gregory Polanco has been a huge surprise. I thought the kind of year he's having this year, he would have next year, maybe a year early. Great sign. Marte batting .300 for the season. Now, the only thing I would like to see him do to that is increase his power numbers. He's got single digits in home runs.
Yeah.
We need Marte to hit us 20 home runs. I don't think he's going to be a 40 home run guy,
No.
but in the 20s, I think that's
That'd be nice.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you got Polanco with 23, you got Kutch with 20,
Right.
and if you get 20 out of it, then that's what more do you want out of
And
your
they're great
outfield?
defensive players, too. Mm-hmm. They're great out in the field. It's one of the best outfields, if not the best, out there in the baseball. So we're lucky like that. Why change it?
So we've got 3 weeks, and I'm going to be on top of every game. And yes, I'll be listening to tonight's game. The game will be on the TV when I get home. Even if we're losing 14-0, I still follow my team. That's what I've always done.
You're a loyal fan. I'm a loyal Bucko
So
fan,
if
too.
you notice tonight, I got the Steelers shirt, right?
It's that time for
It's
Steeler
that
talk.
time. NFL football kicks off on Thursday night.
Exactly.
And this year, once again, and I seem to be the only person that's doing it, I refuse to watch Thursday night football games. I only think that the only Thursday football games that should be played should be one in Detroit, one in Dallas, Thanksgiving Day, and that's it. I think this idea of having football every Thursday night, I think it's just saturating the product. It's watering it down. It's
well, this is the schedule up for the teams, too.
And more importantly, we talk about player safety. How can, football, playing a game of football is like being in 100 little car accidents over the course of 4 hours.
Sure.
Okay? So how does somebody's body recover in 2 days?
It's impossible.
Yeah, after that to go play another game and do the same thing to yourself. And I've noticed the amount of injuries that come out of Thursday night games. If people stopped watching them, they would stop playing them. I think NFL football should be Sunday, Monday night. That's it. College on Saturdays, but now you've got football games right now until January 1st, 7 days a week. And I believe that it's just diluting the product. And
I got to agree with you. We don't need a Thursday night game.
No, I don't think so. So good. We got the Steelers playing Monday night. They're going to Washington. And since we've really not seen the Steelers play all preseason, what we saw 2 series with their starters in.
The offense will be fine.
The offense will be fine.
The defense
what about the
is
defense?
suspect.
The defense is suspect. The secondary is a huge question mark. Our linebacking core, there's a number of question marks that popped up there because it was looking like Bud Dupree was slated to start
he's gonna
this year.
miss
Now
half the
he's
year.
going to miss half the year. Jarvis Jones has played so well that he didn't get the 5th year club option on his rookie contract, so he may be going away. He and his 5 sacks over the last 3 seasons, and I'm sorry, that's never going to be enough out of a first-round draft pick.
Smoking Jim called it when he coined it Too Slow Jones.
Well, he too slow, Jarvis Jones, and I think the defensive line is the thing I'm least concerned about. Cam Hayward's going to get back after his twisted ankle, but what about Javon Hargrave? That could be the first rookie to start for the Pittsburgh Steelers since I believe 1993.
Wow.
On the defensive line, and I heard the name of who the last one was, and it escapes
Slips
me.
your mind.
And I know Jim would be able to answer that for me. Where Jim, help a brother out here. Text me the answer, brother.
He may not even be watching the
I
show.
know.
I don't know what he's doing. He's a man of mystery.
He blew me off on my birthday, but that's okay. I'm going to get over it.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Officially on air.
Thank you very much. Another year older, maybe another year wiser. Who knows?
Oh, definitely.
So,
definitely.
I mean, the NFL season's kicking off. Sports Illustrated made their picks. Steelers, they have them winning it all this year. They have the Steelers
Amazing.
winning the Super Bowl. And
If they stay healthy, that's the one caveat.
Well,
here.
I think
With
more so-
offense.
I think more so on the offensive side than the defensive side, because as long as you've got the ability to be able to match somebody score for score, and literally with the players that we have on offense, we could literally score on any series.
Running backs,
You
wide
know,
receivers.
Now, if we can just keep them, make your scheduled drug tests, okay? Don't sleep in.
Don't get a new phone.
Yeah, don't get a new phone. I mean, this is not, rocket
It's not-
science.
Yeah, it
I
definitely is.
mean,
This is simple. The CBA, whether you like it or not, you still have to go through these things. Once you've gotten caught, then you have to go through it. You got to do it.
and and if you don't like the collective bargaining agreement, well, the person to complain about is not Roger Goodell. The person to complain about is the person that's the head of your union, and I think he's done a horrible job for the players. And he's done a horrible job for the game because he's given the owners and Roger Goodell way too much power for a few little scraps from the table, because he got so greedy looking at the dollar signs. He missed they say the death is in the details.
Yeah.
Well, apparently he didn't read the fine print because now all he's doing is at every chance he's fighting
Oh, yeah.
the NFL from implementing the
What's in
liberties that he gave them.
Right.
So I mean,
Right.
And
And
that is
causes
what
problems.
It
You
is
don't
going to
need.
cause problems.
Look at the money they've spent in court. We don't need that. They don't need it.
So there, Thursday night, what do we get to do? Do we get to see Crybaby Cam be on national TV again? What's going to happen if he stinks? Is he going to go boo-hoo and stamp off the
He'll be fine.
press conference? Well, I mean, I know he's a winner, right? Winners cry.
Yeah, it happens. His true personality come out. We saw that.
Hey,
So
I
it's where he comes from, what he does next. so.
you and I were brought up in an era where when you won, you won with dignity. When you lost with grace.
Right.
I mean, you accepted defeat. Nobody has to like it, but you know what? On that given day, that person or that team was better than you. Doesn't mean that they're better than you all the time.
Sure.
But
And you don't have to be happy about it.
no, I've never
You can
been
even
happy.
refuse an interview, but
I mean, I get
who wants
mad.
to lose?
I get mad when I lose a game of words with friends.
Whoa.
But guess what? I play the next one, because
It's coming up.
it happens. Yeah, it happens. So
And it's what you do. That's
so
the
we've
thing.
got now also there's another crazy thing going on, and it's the World Cup of Hockey, and so this is happening prior to the Penguins showing up
Season.
for training camp, and Sid Crosby's been elected team captain
Yeah.
for Team Canada. And some of our other players, and it's a shame that Evgeny Malkin has to play on a team with Alex Ovechkin because Ovechkin never seems to be able to play on a team that can come close to winning it all.
Nah, it's tough. Maybe Malkin can turn that around. For
Right,
him.
well, maybe it's
He's got the
it's
skills.
the people, but here you go. You got the Penguins coming into the season as the defending Stanley Cup champions. I like the fact that they've got two number one goaltenders and that they decided that that's what they're going to run with. I'm glad they didn't trade away Marc-Andre Fleury or Matt Murray.
Right.
I think, to be honest with you, for them to be in contention for the Cup again this year, it's going to take the efforts of both of them. It's going to be a deft hand at managing playing time because
Sure.
everybody wants to play every minute of every
But that's
game.
a good problem to have.
Oh, yes, it is.
You'd rather have that they want to play
Yes.
every game, and then you can divvy it up however it looks.
And Marc-Andre Fleury, I mean, had it not been for concussion-like symptoms, he would have played in the playoff run last year.
Yeah.
I mean, and then when he started recovering from the concussion symptoms, at that point, he'd been out 4 to 6, 7 weeks. You couldn't put him in a 7-game series in the Stanley Cup playoffs.
And Murray played super.
And Murray played well enough for the Penguins to win, and that's really all you have to do. And so we've got everybody locked up. I mean, I think the Penguins are in a better place going into this year. Now let's going to see what Mike Sullivan does, because even though the Penguins have won 4 Stanley Cups in their history, no Penguins coach has ever won more than 1 Stanley Cup. And that's kind of interesting because, Mario got one of the greatest coaches in hockey history fired, Scotty Bowman, who I believe has his name etched on 6 or 7 Stanley Cups.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, between the Red Wings and the Montreal Canadiens and the Penguins. So, it'll be interesting to see what happens. I'd like to see Sullivan become the first to win 2.
It's possible.
Wouldn't it be nice?
It's possible. I got to study and make my prediction. What's your prediction with the Steelers this year? I know we haven't seen much.
Yeah, how do you make a prediction on when you've seen? I mean, I haven't seen the Steelers' defense yet. Now, their offense is going to be good. Is 10 wins going to be enough to get them into the playoffs this year? I think they're at least a 10-win team. What I would like to see them do is become a 12-win team this year.
That's my prediction, 12-4 this year.
Well, I'll go 11-5. I'll go one less than you, and I think that will get us to where we need to be. We've got the Bengals who are going to fight us tooth and nail for the division. Baltimore is always going to be there, but
they're not the same team.
Terrell Suggs. At one time was a force as a linebacker, but missing a couple of seasons because of injuries, the ravages of time coming to him. Is he going to be the same player come this year? Is he going to make it through the season? Because you find out as these guys get older, injuries become more frequent and they last longer.
Yeah.
So
we will see.
We'll see what's going to happen. Of course. I believe, and I heard somebody say this, that the Browns are playing to lose this year, which wouldn't surprise me. I mean, they've been trying to win for 20 years and it hasn't worked. But because they want to go into the draft, a very high position in the draft, in the hopes that maybe the team 2 to 3 years down the road might be better. I don't think that that's going to keep somebody employed there for very long.
No,
Hugh Jackson is an excellent football coach, but I
don't think he can take a chance.
I know Jim he loves Terrell Pryor, but Terrell Pryor has up to this point has failed at every level that he's tried at professionally, and you need a quarterback to throw you the ball. And before I anoint him as the next great thing, let's make him prove it first.
That would make sense.
Because, hey, what he did in high school didn't matter. Yeah. What he did at Ohio State got him kicked out of school.
Right.
He got run out of Oakland.
Yeah.
And where else did he get run out of?
Yeah.
I lost count. There's been so many.
It doesn't even matter.
I know that's one of Jim's favorites, but we'll see what happens. But on the other side, on the National Football Conference, you've got teams that are in big trouble. 2 teams that had playoff aspirations. Are they even going to be 500 this year? The Minnesota Vikings and the Dallas Cowboys both lost their quarterbacks in meaningless preseason games. Now,
practice for the one. Bridgewater was practice.
Yeah, and Tony Romo is, the Cowboys have a better chance of not winning with him as quarterback than they do with him as quarterback. He can win some games for you in a regular season, but he will choke in a big game. He's done it, proved time and time again. But Dak Prescott, anybody ever hear of Dak Prescott? Well, he's the new starting quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, I'm not worried.
And I believe we'll be seeing somebody else on the Cowboys sideline pouting. Old Des Bryant.
It'll happen.
Because he won't be getting the ball, And, and he's going to complain about that, and then they're not going to win, and then he's going to demand to be traded, and then there's going to be all kinds of drama. It's like having T.O. on your team all over again.
Yeah, it is.
Great talent, but what a pain in the neck.
Yeah, well, Jones deserves that type of issue.
Well, he made his bed, he can sleep with it. Minnesota actually made the playoffs last year. Had a team that was looking like it was going to be playoff bound this year. They lost their starting quarterback, and sadly, they're looking to Sam Bradford as the solution to their quarterback problems. And, well, Sam couldn't make it in St. Louis. Sam couldn't make it in Philadelphia, and, it just, it amazes,
Maybe it'll click.
It amazes me. You see certain quarterbacks play their entire careers, and, they never win at anything. And some people seem to think, well, they're going to do it. And this leads me to my point, because my friend Jim Frazier on this show said he likes the Arizona Cardinals and the Pittsburgh Steelers to play in Super Bowl 51.
Yeah.
Well,
he's predicted they're going to the Super Bowl.
He's predicted that. And just keep one thing in mind. Any team quarterbacked by Carson Palmer hasn't won anything professionally ever. And if you're counting on Carson Palmer to get you through the season, I think he's a little too fragile. He's not going to be there at the end. And we saw what happened with the Arizona Cardinals when they lost their quarterback a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
The wheels completely fell off of the genius's bus, but...
yes, they did. You saved that for the last statement there.
Yeah, I made Jim watch the whole show to hear me give him a shot.
He'll watch it again when it's on.
Yeah.
He's busy now, so we'll figure that out. Well, I just wanted to announce Smoking Jim and I are going to do boxing Friday night at the Priory Hotel. Steel City Boxing Gym is hosting this at the outside, the north side versus the outside. And they got some great boxing, amateur boxing lined up for Friday night. We'll be there. Gates open at 6. And they're looking at a nice card there. They're working on it. Jack Mook's in charge of this. And all the money goes to the Steel City Boxing Gym, who helps kids that are underprivileged in the neighborhoods of Northside. And they provide meals for them and a place to work out. So it's all the funds go there. So it's a really good cause. Be a great crowd. Priory Hotel, one of the most historic venues around. They do a nice job of setting up the ring there in their ballroom, and we usually get a nice crowd there and expecting the same thing. So we'll have some fun. See you Friday night at the Priory Hotel. Gates at 6 o'clock. So we'll have that going on, and come out to see us.
Didn't they, wasn't there some, Pinnacle, didn't they have their fights?
They had their fights
this past weekend, and they still run into problem with people booking fights and not showing up, chickening out.
It happens more times than you like to see.
Yeah, it does.
Greg Rudolph, I'm a big fan of his.
Yes, a friend of the show.
Yeah, friend of the show, but on the show, he's still waiting for his opponent to show up. So it's sad that these things happen.
Because you think about the time and the effort and the money that he put into training to have that fight, and then leading up to that fight, preparing yourself, mentally and everything like that.
Sure.
And then you find out, come fight time that your opponent is missing in action. That's got to be frustrating. But
we've talked to many of the fighters. They're very frustrated by it. Kama Worthy, it's happened to him numerous times, and they work so hard, put 100% into all these efforts. I mean,
to be able to train for those fights the way these guys train, and I mean they have to be ready for anything. You don't go to the gym for 5 minutes and train and expect to walk out of the octagon.
They put in hours. We've had them on our shows.
Oh, they put in the training they go
day.
through is incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, the sacrifices they have to make personally and professionally, because if you've got a full-time job, you got to spend time training, and you got to try to balance these things.
Francis Healy's a nuclear engineer. He trains before he goes into work, and he's an MMA guy. He's Mad Dog is his nickname, and he trains after he comes home. Mm-hmm. So he's got 3, 4, 5 hours of training a day.
On top of
working a full-time job.
As an engineer. And then if you've got a wife and a family, you can't not spend time with your family.
No.
You know,
No.
I mean, so yeah, I feel for these guys. I know what kind of sacrifices they make. You know,
Devin, quit sending me these messages.
I wish
St.
them all about
Louis
the best.
5-0. So,
Yeah,
thanks for the update, Devin.
just setting us up for that big comeback, Devin. See,
I hope.
bottom of the ninth.
I just hope it's not like the other day when it ended up 10-0.
Yeah.
That was a mind. We'll leave that behind us. That's in the past.
We're going to send positive vibes down to PNC Park.
Now,
That's what we're going to do. We're going to put the mojo on the Birds bats. What do you think?
yeah.
Because that's one of the nicknames for the Cardinals, the Birds and the Bats.
Birds and bats. We need it now.
Yes, we do.
We need
Yes,
the
we
mojo
do.
on there. They lost their mojo. Well,
So kind of the only thing we haven't touched on is basketball, but we're still a ways away from college basketball season. We do have something to look forward to this year. New regime in Pitt.
yeah.
Kevin Stallings seems to have a vision for this team, and I'm looking forward to see what he can do with Jamie Dixon's team.
It'll be
Hopefully
nice.
he can do what Dixon couldn't. You know, and I believe, even though Jamie Dixon has been back and he has been interviewed, and he said nothing disparaging about Pitt, the athletic director, but listening to the interview of Scott Barnes, the issue between Scott Barnes and Jamie Dixon was real. Barnes did not like the way that Dixon scheduled his non-conference games.
Right.
And they had issues with that. So you knew that what was going to happen as soon as Jamie got an opportunity to leave, that they were going to open the door and let him leave. And so he
made
took
it
the
available.
signs. Well, you know what he did? He left on his terms instead of having to go through the embarrassment of being fired. And you know what? You think about what he did for this university in 13 years. What he accomplished here at the University of Pittsburgh was incredible. It's unfortunate we didn't make win a national championship, do better in the tournaments, but still, year in and year out, they had a team that contended. They had a team that played their hearts out. It's
They
just
left it on the court.
they
And
sure
they
did.
showed it.
They
showed
sure
it each
did.
year, over 20 wins a season.
Oh yeah, I mean, and he's another person that he's gone. I wish him well, but
Yeah.
my heart isn't broken that he's gone either.
Nah, well, that stuff happens there. Well, we got a couple minutes left. I want to thank everybody for watching us. We appreciate all our fans out there, and thanks for watching us each night. We're on Tuesday through Saturday night, 7 o'clock to 8. I was at Giant Eagle, the Market District, and a couple ladies. James is the guy at the coffee and tea area. Sometimes I get a green tea there when I'm there. And he said to these ladies, "Do you know this guy's on TV?" And they're like, "No." I go, "James, I don't care about that." He goes, "Well, he does this show, Pittsburgh Sportsline, on Verizon 32 everywhere, including Bethel Park, and Comcast 7 only." So hello to Paula and Janae, who's a friend of Mario Tempest at Sheets. And she'll be going to Florida tomorrow or so. So
Good for
shout
them.
out to both of them.
Thanks for watching.
It was nice for meeting us, and enjoy the show. So we've got 1 minute to go, Chip.
1 minute to go. I will be back down at PNC Park Saturday night, cheering on my Buccos against the Cincinnati Reds. After Cardinals tonight and tomorrow, we got a 4-game stint against the Cincinnati Reds, and then there will be one more homestand before the end of the season. So, get your fill of baseball now.
Get ready for some wins.
Crazier things have happened. Don't give up on them yet.
No, we've seen them win the last 3 years. They made it to the playoffs. I'm still hopeful. I don't know how, except they got to win. So that's what we need is some
Garrett Cole's
victories.
going to come back, and he's going to be on fire. He's going to be unhittable.
I hope.
You heard it here on Pittsburgh Sportsline.
Chip's out on a limb there. He's going to be unhittable. I just hope his arm is not sore anymore and nothing inflamed. No more inflammation. The doctors took care of it. He's coming back. I just can't wait. We need some Bucco victories, and I want everybody to stay Joey strong.